Go ahead.
Welcome in to this Monday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio. Today, I think my camera is jammed, so give it a few minutes, or hopefully not a few minutes, but give you a little time, and you can see both of us here in the stream. Thanks for those that logged on in that way here this afternoon around 12:30 as we're getting started today. Neal's got G-Pits in a little while, so busy day on the MPW Digital Network of podcasts. We'll talk a lot about Ole Miss and South Carolina. The Rebels sweeping the Gamecocks over the weekend. Ironically, after the 4-loss series in a row, a lot of hand-wringing. Some of the problems are still there, but Ole Miss has, frankly, one of its better records in SEC play after 21 games that they've had in a long time at 13-8. So RPI is 10, 9, something like that this morning.
Before the season, someone that I know said, it's a long year, it's a good league, you're going to have a bad weekend where you lose to an inferior team, and you're going to have a good weekend where you dominate an equal or superior team.
And 2 weeks in a row, those things might have occurred.
I just would like to rest my case.
Well, even, Suss and I were talking about on Saturday, we were kind of laughing. We said, you get to the Arkansas, Mississippi State, Florida, LSU, even at the time, version of the schedule, and you go, hey, those 4 weeks can be really hard. And then when those 4 weeks are really hard, they go, oh, God, those were really hard. And it's like, well, yeah, those were going to be kind of difficult. Now, again, Ole Miss doesn't need to lose 4 in a row, but within context, looking back, just avoiding the sweep at any point when every damn body is getting swept at some point right now. It's a huge deal for Ole Miss because, it's the irony of this thing. We talk about 16, 17 wins, and we'll pay bills in a second, is they have one of the weirder years I've ever seen going, though, because they're not going to, but they could lose the next 3 series 2-1, go 3-7 in series on the year, and finish with a winning conference record.
Because of sweeps.
Because
Sure, and they didn't get swept.
Correct. So, podcast brought to you in part by not brought to you, by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. Let them take care of you. Maybe over the weekend you were in town. A lot of people were. Took advantage of the Speed Pass Plus app because you got to fill up with gas on your way in or out of town. You earn points and save money there with the Oxford Exxon. Also today and every weekday, lunch special, $5.69, 2 sides bread, 32-ounce drink. Take advantage of that. Hot case, pork, chicken, side items, dessert, and more. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call the number, ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes. Right to the bottom line, no hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. You can shop it around. You can do what I've done, but I recommend that you do, and let's hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Guests will join us on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford. Be a great place this weekend coming up. Ole Miss on the road, so you can watch the games. I assume most of you probably are not going to College Station, so you can watch the games there at Rafters, enjoy their burgers, po' boys, great appetizers, full beer selection, full bar, the whole deal. Great atmosphere, great service, great food, great people at Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford and also in New Albany.
You guys asking for the Rebel Grovers in the chat, asking for a wedding conversation. One of our illustrious subscribers with a bit of a quandary as he has a specific wedding this weekend.
So let's sort of set this up because I got...
At some point we're going to have to talk about it either now or later, so everybody might as well get the gist of it now as we're kind of doing our website with our podcast a little bit.
So he was dating a girl all the way through NJ Rebs 10.
Yeah.
Was dating a girl all through college.
That's correct.
And on graduation night, she cheated on him with another guy.
Correct, yes.
This is the story.
What he said. You mean read it verbatim? You go find it?
I mean,
or is it okay to just do Cliff Notes?
Cliff Notes are probably okay. Just make sure that I'm not missing anything because
that's the way I interpret it.
This is important.
Okay.
He got upset, so he went and sought out her best friend. And
I think sought out is stronger than he implied it, but nonetheless.
Come on.
Okay,
fair enough, but listen. He's been invited to come on the show.
He did say he was pissed off, so yes, I'll allow it. Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
He went
and sought out her best friend.
Okay.
And seduced her.
Okay. I mean, it's not me. I don't care.
In an act of revenge. Both of these affairs, for lack of a better word, have led to seemingly long-term relationships.
Not to get into a friends conversation, but they were broken up, I think, for his. He would say they're on a break.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
good point. So both of these rendezvous...
His was fully within the rights of the common law, if you will.
Both of these rendezvous have led to long-term relationships.
So good for everybody. All's well that ends well.
And the two couples now, both of the females involved in this situation, are bridesmaids in the same wedding this weekend coming up.
That is correct.
And so they're going to have to see one another, which means that he's going down with his girlfriend.
Yes.
And he'll be at the wedding and presumably involved in a lot of the pre-wedding and post-wedding parties and all that deal. And there's going to be some potentially awkward moments here.
It's never as awkward as you worry about it being. So unless someone lights a match, I think it's much ado about nothing.
Well,
don't you?
I don't know what the relationship between the two girls were. Best friends, and they're not best friends anymore.
No, it appears to be quite volatile and rough.
Well, they're going to be in the same room a lot.
So at some point, and there's alcohol involved.
I mean, the two guys don't appear to know each other that much.
No, they don't.
And so
the groom doesn't know everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's all a bride side deal.
He's got enough stress as it is.
Who? The groom?
The groom. I presume this is a big wedding. It feels like a big wedding.
It feels like 10, 12 bridesmaids big, too. Like, even a lot.
Well, I hope so. Because if it's
3.
just 4...
we have a problem.
Yeah, because you can't separate them.
You're all at the same table.
Yeah, I mean, if you go 10, you can
space.
Create a buffer. And he says his ex hates him, Avery points out.
Yes, that's true.
But why does his ex hate him? If the story that we're told is true, and look, my antenna's up in a couple of spots. If the story that we're told is true, she cheated on him.
I think it's mostly true. I think there could be spots where he did a little PR for himself, and hey, that's fine. I have no issues there at all.
We live in a world of spin.
Yeah, sure. I have no issue there. Your side, my side, and the truth. It's cool.
I've had conversations all weekend that were just loaded with spin.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not saying what's the worst that could happen, but...
Well, the worst that could happen is that
a brawl in the wedding.
Yeah, where it really gets ugly, where people storm out and the wedding is overshadowed by this
event.
Yeah.
The advice is to act like your current girlfriend is the best woman on the history of the planet and move on with your day.
Yeah, the good news
because if you're him, here's the situation. Either the ex doesn't care about you anymore and is fine and whatever. And then if that's the case, you definitely don't want to seem smitten and all over her, like worried about her at this point. And then if she is still harboring and whatever, the best thing you can do is act like you are happy and the happiest lark on the history of the planet.
Should he go up to the guy and go, hey, we got to get through this? All good? Does he just get it out in the open? Or do you let it simmer? Because sometimes if you let it simmer, it doesn't take much heat.
Right?
Well, there's one guy that was dating her, and the guy who she cheated with obviously knows now that there was something.
No, I get that, but he doesn't know them and
no,
he doesn't know everybody.
But he knows the deal. I'm guessing
he's only getting one side, and it's.
Oh yeah. Oh,
we don't know what his truth is.
He's heard nothing but bad things about this guy.
There's no way he's heard the same story that we were told on the message board.
Yeah. It's got all the makings of a tinderbox.
No, I don't think there's no way to go up to the guy and be like, hey, I get it, you get it. Let's do it. Whatever. I think that's adding to it. I think that's showing almost a weakness that it's on your mind to an extent.
Well, that's true. So you just go in there and you're on your best behavior. very attentive to the one that you're with.
Oh yeah, you have
and just rock on, right?
I don't. Yeah, you have to. There's a fine line though. You've got to not pay the other one attention without making it obvious that you're literally not paying her attention.
Yeah. Well, there's almost a 0% chance, depending on the size of this wedding, that you're not going to have a moment where you have to say, "Hey, how are you?"
Well, you're going to have to do that. You 100% have to speak to her at some point, and you do. You go up and you hug her and you go, "Hey, how are you?" I'm glad to see you.
Good to see you.
And that's it.
Hope you're well.
Yeah, because you're happy. You're good.
You're good. You hope she's
cherish
good.
Those memories.
Don't say that though.
No.
Don't go down memory lane.
Current problems.
Yeah, no.
There's no reminiscing in this weekend.
No.
You're not sitting around the table going, you remember when we went to that Italian restaurant? No.
Remember that weekend we spent?
Yeah, no. This is not my best friend's wedding where Julia Roberts is asking Dermot Mulrooney all these questions. This is not that.
Oh, you just want to get to the finish line.
Speaking of, why does everybody want Julia Roberts to be the hero in that movie? She was a terrible human being. Terrible.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cameron Diaz was the victim in that movie, but people pull for Julia Roberts in that movie because she's Julia Roberts.
I mean, there's a lot of movies that are kind of that way. There's a lot of stuff that's that way where people are cheering for the villain, and I'm not sure why sometimes.
She got him fired. Sending an email while putting the ring on. Worst maid of honor ever. Ridiculous. Anyway. No, there's a way to play this that is perfect. As long as everybody else shows a modicum of sanity in the meantime.
Open bar?
Probably.
Yeah.
Phil's open bar.
The rehearsal dinner is where
that's the bigger problem.
The potential
honestly.
for trouble is the rehearsal dinner.
The rehearsal, the wedding, we're talking about probably 300 people at this point or something. Like, okay, y'all just neutral corner this thing.
Yeah, because once the wedding's over,
you're at a party.
You can avoid each other at the party.
Yeah. The rehearsal dinner is
because not everybody's there. It's a smaller group.
If it's
more
so
intimate
small,
setting.
you're at the same table. This has got to be a certain size to not allow literally breaking bread shoulder to shoulder in this thing. That's our question we need answered on the message board. How big is this shit?
By the way, the people that are saying, well, I don't know what's going on, you should be subscribing to rebelgrove.com because for a very cheap price, you got a lot of entertainment.
It's up there with some of our more memorable threads that we've had over the years.
Oh, and we're just at the beginning.
This is just the setup.
Yeah, because we don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, that thing's going to get a lot of views on Sunday morning when he finally logs in and fills us all in on what's going on.
I need to hear voices to know, like, emotion. Is there anger? I mean, are we truly like, hey, I'm good. I'm glad it worked out the way it did. I'm happy.
Yeah, not going to the wedding does not appear to be an option. Everybody's locked into this thing. They're both really good friends with the bride, apparently.
Not going to the wedding creates problems.
Well, that makes it look like you really are just this week.
Well,
you
like
can't get through a weekend.
If you were to tell your girlfriend, if you were to tell your girlfriend, I just can't go. I can't be around her.
Really? I mean, that's not a good sign.
After 2 years? You're still hung up on her, huh?
Yeah. No, I'm trying to save you, hon. I'm trying to make this less awkward.
Because she's going to say, I'm good.
I don't care about that.
Yeah. I'll tell that bitch.
Right? Yeah, we've got to really get a lot going between now and Sunday, but the setup at least gives us a chance to get in like that Beam 8-star category with the dryer or whatever it was that day. Like this has got a good setup if something does go a little sideways. Oh, geez. So yeah, we'll continue to follow. We're not done asking questions. He's been invited on the podcast. We'd like to recap it in with voices on Monday. More than happy to allow that.
If you got invited to go as like a guest and you could just kind of watch from a distance and go to the whole thing, would you do it? Because I would.
100%. Yeah.
I'm in.
Just stand in my corner. I'm good, y'all.
Let me come to the rehearsal dinner. I'll have a spot.
Did you have a real volatile ex that like was any kind of like thing like that?
No. Mm-mm.
I'm probably oddly still like friends with exes more than most people. Like, fine, whatever.
Yeah. I wouldn't go that far, but
yeah. I mean, I'm not calling yesterday.
Sure,
but I mean,
sure.
Like my high school girlfriend that I dated for almost 4 years. Like, yeah, I mean, we communicate. Everything's cool. Like, there's no issue.
Did you go to her wedding?
She came to mine.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like everything was invited. Yeah. No.
Okay.
I mean, we're whatever. I actually have her dog. Long story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, there's it's cool. It's fine. Well, I mean, years and years and years ago, and when you realize you're not compatible with someone, you're thankful that you had enough maturity to not get married at 21 and do something stupid.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Everybody comes out of it and goes, hey, we had a lot of good times. We dated a long time. We marked each other's childhood in some different ways and different things. But, like, I'm not compatible with you and you're not compatible with me. Like, we're good. Like, we would have killed one another. There's a maturity there. It's all good.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
It's fine.
That's my excuse. That's my excuse for my 2 years in Monroe, is that it was maturity. I knew not to settle down.
You knew that wasn't compatible.
I knew there was nothing compatible with anything at that particular point in my life.
You did have one like break in. Is that too strong? That's too strong.
No, that's not too strong. I probably
break in is fair.
I could have pressed charges. She took a key without me knowing she took a key, made a copy of said key, and when I got in from work at 2 a.m, she was there with one of those frozen pizzas in the oven.
Oh, I didn't know that detail.
Yeah.
Was it a good brand at least? We don't like
I don't really remember
one, or like a Totino's party pizza.
I'm going to guess it was more the Totino's, but I don't really remember thinking about the pizza at that point. I remember thinking this is not going to end well.
And it ended without incident.
It ended without incident, but there were moments that I thought I'm going to have to call authorities,
which would have been a problem.
Yeah,
you don't want to do
that. No, I just wanted her to leave without the key.
It's like you think she would have just taken up shop.
Yeah,
almost like just moved in and went, "Hey, this is a thing."
It was a problem.
There had to be some sign you should have noticed that on the front end.
Well, there probably were signs, but I was not at a real place in my life where I was paying a lot of attention to signs. Yeah, she had crazy eyes, no doubt. But when you bartend, I was bartending and everything was dark, and so you weren't always paying attention to all the signs. You were busy, also.
Okay. Well, had she just camped out and lived there, Neal would have frankly needed another place to live. You call Jason Lowe for that kind of thing with Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Citto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. They're getting local underwriting, understands your market, leader in condo financing, the float down option, and more. You can find Jason at 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
We are also, I'm sorry, I had to open something. There it goes. We're also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. Grenada Nissan USA, just off Interstate 55 in Grenada, Mississippi. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, whether it's a new one, a used one, or you want to lease one, check out Grenada Nissan, GrenadaNissanUSA.com. If someone says that's when you change the lock, I did change the lock, but you can't change the lock at 3 o'clock in the morning. You've got to get through the crisis and get to a new place.
You can't change the lock when she's already in the house. That's not helping.
One of the first calls the next day was to the landlord explaining that we have an issue and I need to change the lock. And she said, that's going to cost you. And I said, it's worth whatever it's going to cost. Just change the lock. We're also brought to you by Lamons Fine Jewelry in Oxford. Lamons is at 1126 North Lamar Boulevard in Oxford. They've been serving the Oxford area for more than 73 years. From engagement rings to wedding rings to fine jewelry, watches, pearls, fashion jewelry, children's jewelry, collectibles, and more. Lamons is the gold standard in fine jewelry. LamonsFineJewelry.com or call them at 662-234-2777. We are also brought to you by our friends at Muddy Water Camo. Don't forget, check them out at muddywateroutdoors.com as you get ready for some of the hot weather fishing and hunting and those kinds of things. Check them out. Speaking of hot weather, you want to make sure your air conditioner is in tip-top shape. To do that, you want to get in touch with the people at Comer Heating and Air. It's the name you can trust with more than 50 years of professional HVAC experience in Oxford, Tupelo, and the surrounding area. Comer is offering a a special to make sure that air conditioner is in tip-top shape. So give them a call at 662-801-1777. Also brought to you by the College Corner. It's your one-stop Rebel Shop. 2 locations in the Jackson area. In Ridgeland, it's next to Fleet Feet. In Flowood, it's next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, it's not a problem. You can visit the College Corner store at collegecornerstore.com. And you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. So whether you're tailgating in Oxford or home gating with friends and family, the College Corner has you covered for game day, the largest selection of Rebel gear in central Mississippi.
Podcast also brought to you by Visit Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com. Go to the events page, see what's going on locally. The pop-up spring edition still going on there downtown on the square. Art vendors back this weekend. I think 10 to 5 is the time for that, as well as tunes around town, 5 to 7 for that. 4 different areas around the square with music acts set up, walk around, listen, and enjoy your evening. And then also with graduation still going on, the 2020 graduation is this weekend. 2021 was last weekend. 2020 is this weekend because of the pandemic. Bus tours still going 3 and 4 o'clock for that. You can get reservations there at Visit Oxford. Again, visit oxfordms.com. So, anything else on that, or are you pretty good?
No, right? I think we're pretty good. I mean, I got questions, but I'm not sure that those questions can be answered right this moment.
No, I feel like we have to give this guy a list. Like, we have a list of things we have to know.
We need to get him on the show. I'd like to get him on the show before the podcast and before the wedding, and then get him on the show again, obviously, after the wedding for the recap.
Well, yeah, that's imperative, and we have to have an answer. There has to be a climax of this thing.
Yeah.
So I guess baseball's next. Ole Miss, South Carolina.
Yeah, speaking of hanging curveballs.
Yeah, right. Rebels win all 3 over the weekend. Again, moved to 13-8 in the league. From a resume standpoint, not a national seed today, but all's pretty well. You know, I haven't gone back and looked. This might be the best they've ever been through 21 games. Well, other than that 0-2 team that collapsed like a bad launch.
You're talking about from a record standpoint.
Well, yeah, correct. Yeah. 13-8, because look, they've only been 20-10 once. And I mean, even at 20-10, you're only talking about, you got a long way to go there. But and that team won 3 the very last weekend. So that team was 17-10 going to Arkansas, because you and I were both there that weekend.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Uh-huh.
So, they're in good shape. They're back in a pretty easy hosting situation. Now, look, they need to take advantage of the schedule a little bit now. They got through some rough spots. You're at A&M this weekend. A&M's 5 and 16 in the league.
Yep.
You got to win. You got to go to College Station and get at least 2.
You got to go get 2.
Yeah, you got to get 2.
Because if you get 2, you're 15-9. Go after 24, and that's pretty solid shape.
Yeah, look. A&M has some talent, but they are a mess right now.
Yeah.
So take advantage of them being a mess.
Well, and they're getting at the point in the year where they start to go,
Because in some points, almost like, hey, if we win one too many, we got to go to Hoover, and Hoover gives it.
Oh, sure.
If you want to go to Hoover.
Well, look, in the back of their minds right now, they're thinking, we're 3 weeks away from kind of getting the hell out of here. No more tests. If we go to Hoover, we're going to have to go through some big test thing.
Because we might have to go to summer ball. I'd like a couple weeks off.
Sure.
I don't really want to do that right now.
Sure. Go to Hoover, we're going to get put up in a hotel. It's not like we can go do anything. We're stuck in the hotel. They're going to lock us down.
Don't even get the Winfrey, because I think that only goes to the top 8 seeds.
Yeah, you're stuck off someplace.
Yeah, you're playing for a hotel even, too.
This is the weekend. These last 3 weeks, this is when you want to play Auburn, Missouri.
Missouri's the
A&M.
one team you need to keep out of Hoover from an RPI standpoint. Everybody else's RPI is somewhat manageable. Missouri's is like 122 or something. You need them to not get hot, let them stay and go on back to Columbia. Because right now 3 teams are tied, I believe. I think it's Missouri, A&M, and Auburn, all 5 and 16 in the league.
That's right.
With 9 to go. You'd like Auburn to make Hoover because they have the best RPI of the 3. They're probably the most dangerous, too, but whatever. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, I'm fairly convinced that, for the most part, Hoover is going to be more meaningless than ever before.
I think it's important to Kentucky.
And potentially Alabama.
Alabama's in good shape right now, though.
Yeah,
RPI's
sure.
in the 20s. They're 11-10. Is that right?
No, I think they're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I don't know what the other hotels are. I know back in the day, the top 8 stayed at the Winfrey, then 9 and 10 stayed somewhere, and then 11 and 12 stayed somewhere else. There was definitely a tier system to the hotel that you got. If Ole Miss could find a way to do it, top 4 seeds get Tuesday off, just for a little refresher for anybody unaware of the SEC tournament. Top 4 seeds don't play on Tuesday. 5 through 12 play a single elimination game to advance to the double elimination portion of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be 8 teams remaining on Wednesday, and then they play it out and do whatever it is they do. The tournament in recent years has modified it a little bit and only made you play one game on Saturday for a single game semifinal and a single game final on Sunday.
Have they said what attendance or press is going to look like? Or
the way I interpreted it was it depends on the rest of the states. If more than half the SEC states have opened by that point, then they will open to whatever degree makes sense for
media
that.
will still be on Zoom though, right?
Oh, I'm 100% sure. Yeah. I mean,
ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it's like I had a. It's getting more frustrating with, frankly, everything. But like, there's a couple stories I'd like to work on, and this goes across multiple sports. This isn't even just baseball.
Sure.
I had sent some texts, and I'm like, hey, I want to talk to so and so, but what are my options for this? And there aren't any. Really.
No, group Zoom.
Phone call or but it doesn't have to be, but even if it's individual, it's still like, well, you can call them on the phone. It's like, okay, but
yeah.
You know,
I've told you I have some concerns that we're going to still be doing the Zoomy thing
in the fall. Well,
because I just think
this is going to come off worse to some people, and I'm not talking about anybody specifically. There's going to be a push by some media for that because they don't have to show up at anything.
Yes,
they can do it from their living room, and they want to. But it punishes everybody else. Like, I mean, at baseball right now,
it's the same people that don't want to go back to work.
Yeah. I mean, at baseball or football or basketball or anything, if you choose to go to the game and cover it, you should get something that everybody else doesn't get. You're there.
Well, that's why I stopped doing it.
Yeah, I know. I'm not arguing.
Because I would say, well, what's in it for me?
Yeah, and the answer is nothing.
Well, nothing. You can be at the arena
and do it there, or
I can be at home. I'm good.
Yeah.
And in basketball, that you had to wear the mask and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, why am I going to do that? I'm much more comfortable to sit at home.
Yeah. So, look, this isn't very complicated for Ole Miss. It's right there in front of them. From a hosting standpoint, I think 17 is safe. I wouldn't want to do the 16 thing this year. You got to get to 17 because of the way that's finishing, too.
Sure.
That would be finishing 3 and whatever, and you can't do that. You need to be at least 4 and 5 to close.
What do they have to do to get into the conversation for a top 8?
The problem with that is I don't know, because the NCAA selection committee can give me all the bull crap in the world, but is it conference dependent on a certain number of bids? And sometimes it doesn't seem like it is, and sometimes it absolutely seems like it is. You're talking about 10 people who rotate on and off, and you don't know what their win is that day. I think John Cohen is the only SEC member of the committee, but I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's right. I think it's John. Ray Tanner was until recently, and for some reason I have in my head that Cohen replaced him, but I could be wrong. And that's not a state thing. I'm just saying there is at least a member of the conference on the committee, which helps.
Sure.
I think you're talking 19 as a guess.
I think so.
Because in a vacuum, if you're 19, and now look, Ole Miss, they got a national seed in 18 with, I think, 19 wins, and they got a national seed in 05 with 18 wins. The year they went 20-10, they were not a national seed. They only hosted the Super Regional because UC Irvine got upset by Virginia out there. So it's not really about wins per se, but what my point is, you go 19-11, and you've got those 3 wins in Texas, which just keep on piling up and are sitting there in your resume. Your RPI is going to be in the top 8. And here's the thing, too. The RPI is going to be in the top 8 out of countable teams because it's actually top 8 right now. If it was 9 this morning, Fairfield is still sitting in there, and Fairfield's RPI is not going to get credit for being a top 10 RPI. So because of that, when you look at strictly an RPI amongst people who play other teams, Ole Miss has an RPI in that range. They have a lot of wins. Here's the thing I think, though. I think they need to – you've got to win at least 2 of these 3 series, and I'm wondering if you need to win all 3 series just to go 6-4 in series during the SEC play. Maybe not, but if I'm really trying to get rid of negatives, because if you're Ole Miss right now, that's all you're doing. You're trying to pile up positives and get rid of minuses.
So a scenario where, say, you swept A&M and you swept Georgia, but you got swept by Vandy.
Yeah.
Which is not going to happen in all likelihood.
But the point of that is, when you look at it from, hey, who are your quality wins? Okay, you're 3 in Texas. You get credit for those.
Sure.
Now, first week of the year, but still it counts.
Sure.
South Carolina, that's it. They go, who else did you beat that's any good? And that's why that's kind of a hard one. I'm not saying that would keep Ole Miss from a national seed, but I'm telling you that would give a reason to not give them one if you're trying to tie break and pick and choose and whatever.
Sure.
You need Tennessee to lose to the teams they have left that are pretty good because they have run up. They're good. Tennessee's a good team, but they've run up a record on a bunch of bad programs. They close Carolina and Arkansas. You need those two teams to pop the Volunteers.
Yeah.
Tennessee feels like the one you need to steal in there. I think Arkansas is obviously safe. I think Vanderbilt's safe. I think State's safe given their current situation and what they have left. They have a very manageable schedule the rest of the way. I think it's Ole Miss or Tennessee for a national seed if conference affiliation matters.
What does Florida have left?
Their RPI is so
bad. Yeah.
Now, look, they could put up a huge SEC number. I'll go to the thing in a second. But their RPI is like 28 or something. And that just feels like so far down that I don't know how they get there. As long as RPI counts anywhere near like RPI typically would count. I mean, I'm looking at it here. RPI, Arkansas 1, State 3, Vandy 4, Tennessee 7, Ole Miss 9. Tennessee 1 game up in SEC play, but they have nowhere near equal schedules. Ole Miss has a much harder schedule than Tennessee from a playing standpoint. Ole Miss has a top 10 strength of schedule nationally as well. Let's see. South Carolina's at 15. I mean, they're trying to hang on and host at this point. I don't see how.
No, they got hurt. They got hurt this weekend.
Yeah, they're in rough shape.
They needed to get one.
Still, after beating Vandy 2 out of 3, Florida's 29.
Yeah, so
you can't get them in
They're not in the mix.
They're going to be a crazy RPI test case from a host standpoint. I think they host. I think RPI gets thrown out for Florida and gets thrown out for Louisville. I think those are two teams that are going to get a COVID exemption, if you will, from an RPI standpoint. Because Florida, let's see what they have left. I mean, they're 13-8 in the league.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't know why their RPI is that bad. And they've got Kentucky and Georgia the next 2 weekends. So they're going at 4-2 is conservative there. That's 17-13. They get one against Arkansas to close the season. That's 18-12. An SEC team going 18-12 is going to host.
Sure.
In a pandemic year where you can easily just throw the RPI
out. And they should.
Probably at South Carolina's peril.
Probably.
It's my guess.
Yep.
Feels like Carolina ends up the 2 in Louisville or something like that. You just move.
They hurt themselves this weekend, no doubt. They needed to get one game.
Cliff might be seeing them as the 2 in Greenville here in a few weeks.
They're just kind of a stunningly average team.
And now Florida has a chance to put it on ice. I mean, go to Baum and win 2, and you're hosting. Done.
Sure.
Wrap that puppy up.
Sure.
Against an Arkansas team that may not give a crap by that point. They're 34-8.
Yeah,
I mean, it's.
They're the weirdest elite team I've ever seen.
You can be elite if you're just good at everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have a weakness.
But you don't ever watch them and go, man.
Well, because they kind of have a starting pitching weakness.
Yeah.
And they just sort of get through it.
Well, their bullpen's good. The back of their bullpen's really good. And they just hit.
I do want to kind of see how they close. I mean, they finish at Tennessee and Florida at home.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty tough close there for the Razorbacks. I think they're a good team. I think they're seasoned. I think they're confident. I think the lack of a huge negative is going to carry them through. I also wouldn't be stunned to see them lose a Super.
Oh, sure.
And they get popped by some pitching 2 days in a row and can't overcome it. And
At this point, there's no SEC team, at least not that I've seen, that I go, oh, no, their ticket is punched to Omaha. I haven't seen one. At this point, Vanderbilt included because they look human.
I think Arkansas is set up. Arkansas and Florida, actually, to me, are set up as the best regional teams in the SEC.
Because
with State, they're close.
Depth of arms.
And then I think Vanderbilt and Ole Miss are set up the best in a Super because of their arms.
I could see that.
When it's only just one weekend, go win it and move on from there. Look, Jack Leiter has looked average to even a little bad the last 3 weeks. He's been very gettable. I think bringing the Kumar conversation back into play a little bit from that standpoint. Rocker's been better. Rocker's been more consistent than Leiter has to this point. And I went back even and watched a little Leiter. He's not losing composure, but
he's kind of lost his command. He's
he's getting sort of. You don't see it in body language. You just see it in stuff a little bit. It's just the curveball hangs a little, and this, and just I
just noticed his location.
He's been a little bit of a front runner. His
location's off a little.
Yeah.
He's looking for the outer third, and he's getting the middle of the plate. He's throwing a lot of center cut.
And
stuff.
Vanderbilt has a pitching problem.
Sure.
They have a depth issue.
They have an offense problem.
Yeah, at times they do.
Yeah.
Frankly, offense is what sort of even kept them in it at all this weekend against Florida, because I know we're shocked that Florida's starting to find itself a little bit. And it's a pretty good baseball team.
Florida has talent.
All over.
You can see it everywhere, and so the talent starts to emerge.
At some point, good players play well, and it is what it is. You know, in Ole Miss, they followed the recipe that makes tons of sense for them. They got really good starts out of Gunnar Hoagland and Doug Nikhazy. The good players hit, if you will. I think they have to. The one thing offensively, because look, they look like an offense that's missing its best player, and that's what it is. And that's a credit to Ole Miss. That means everybody's kind of doing their part-ish, but you don't have a ton of depth, and when you're losing a Telmoko, your offense is going to suffer.
Sure.
But they're making it work. They lead the SEC in OPS right now. They're finding ways to drive people in. They're a little too home run dependent for me, given their lineup construction.
Right.
I think moving Kevin Graham around somewhere is an important thing. I don't think Mike's going to do it because Mike doesn't do it. But I got a weird stat for you. Kevin Graham's hitting like 340 in SEC play. He's hitting third almost every game. He's 8th or 9th on the team in SEC RBIs. There is no one ever on base for him. To me, you've got to do something to fix that. Your best hitter never having anyone on base means you have to move the lineup around a little bit for whatever reason or however you do that. Because he's coming up and getting hits, and there's never anyone in scoring position. Because that bottom of the order's not turning over. Chatney has really struggled the last 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now Gonzalez is really hitting the ball well. But I don't know. There's something there that I think probably has to be tinkered a little bit. But, you know, they got what you got. Mike, because of what his starters did, was able to manage around only using 3 or 4 relievers the entire weekend. Now, look, that's not sustainable every weekend. You're going to get hit a little there at times. At the end of the day, he threw Taylor Broadway 3 times, including twice on one day.
Yeah, it's why Ole Miss has quickly become one of the teams that, talking about Hoover, they're least designed for Hoover.
Yeah, and
couldn't care less.
Hoover is the absolute worst place for him, because even Omaha, it's spread out so much you can kind of make it work.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
As long as you win your first couple of games in Omaha,
it's that son of a guns.
It's a free shot.
You can almost play it with 2 pitchers at that point.
Oh, you can get through Omaha if you stay in the winner's bracket with 5 pitchers.
Yeah.
Because it takes forever for the losers brackets
to get back to you.
Yeah,
I know. So, Ole Miss is interesting. They, in some ways, they keyed off. I thought they gained some energy with Gunnar coming back. I thought. You know, I've told you that it's a little anecdotal and it's probably not completely fair, but I felt like for whatever reason they haven't been as amped or as up on Friday night as typical with a lot of the teams that have the true ace going and kind of how you get in it a little bit and the adrenaline starts flowing. They've seemed a little flat, and I thought that wasn't the case on Friday. I thought they came out and they, you know. You look at the box scores, they scored early runs all 3 games. They got at Carolina starters. They got run support for their pitchers. They played a different game than they've been losing, where it was just, you know, during that 4-week losing streak, every single game, the starter's having to throw 6 innings, and he's in a 1-0 game and a 2-1 game, and they can't get any separation, and one pitch could change the whole weekend. And, you know, I do want to see Gunnar this weekend. The end of that game, and I'm not saying there's a problem. Mike was very specific. He felt there was no major issue. End of that game was a little weird when Gunnar came out on Friday night. I'd like to make sure he's okay one more week before I fully put it to bed that was a 1 week bicep
because his velocity fell off the way it did.
Well, and they pulled him at 78 pitches. Like 40 pitches less than typically Gunnar would see a big drop-off at. And now he missed a week.
It was kind of the first weekend that it was kind of muggy too, though, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's a problem at all. Don't twist my words there. It just sort of put my antenna up where I went, okay,
Sure.
I want to see one more. I just want to make sure it gets a bullpen on next Wednesday that looks all right and everything's copacetic as it moves forward. And it probably is. Because look, the next night, Doug tired out quicker than usual. Again, it's kind of muggy, kind of hot. Nikhazy fell off at 85 instead of 110. I mean, it was.
Well, it was muggy late in the week.
Yeah, I mean, and that could be all it was. Mike said that he thought Gunnar coming back was really adrenalized, and when the adrenaline kind of wore off, he hit a wall, and
Sure.
it just kind of because he still got the guys up like 3 up, 3 down. He had a solid inning. But when you looked up, it was some change ups, and it was 87, 88, maybe even an 86 instead of a 91, 92. I mean, there was a pretty good tick there that had come off at that point. So just something to watch. That's all. But podcast brought to you in part by Northeast Spark, NESPARC.com. You can check them out for the best in internet here locally in Oxford. 2 packages, the Ignite, the 100 Mbps, or the Blaze, the 1 gig that powers the Clark Ford studio. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband. That is 662-238-3159. Phone service available, as well as parental controls, network security, a wireless mesh extender, and more. So find out if they're in your area, and they probably are. They've been all over town here recently setting up for you. That's nespark.com, 662-238-3159.
We're also brought to you by Pinnacle. A lot of changes going on at Pinnacle. Martin Palomo talked about some of that on Mind on My Money. We'll talk about that again this week when we tape the show, and I'll kind of update you here in this portion of the show as we go along. But it's pintrust.com, PINNtrust.com. They handle retirement planning for individuals and businesses and so much more. Detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, everything you can want there at Pinnacle. They'll take great care of you. Tell them that you heard about them on the podcast. We're also brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you're thinking about traveling this summer, we were talking about that, Laura and the girls, talking about taking a trip and stuff like that. So we were thinking about that. If you're doing something similar, get in touch with John. Give him some parameters and a budget, some ideas, and he'll give you options that you're not going to come up with on your own. And you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first book trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. Also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with the personal touch. When you call OUB, you speak directly with the live person. No 10 buttons to push, no 5 minutes to wait. To learn more, go to liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. And we're brought to you by Whitney McNutt of Tommy Morgan Incorporated Realtors. I'll have a mailbag up on Wednesday. It's brought to you by Whitney McNutt, serving you for all your real estate needs in Oxford and Tupelo. She sells condos, land, commercial, and residential family homes. 662-567-2573 or 662-842-3844. And we're brought to you by Bain, Moss, and Bowen, located in historic downtown Corinth. Their firm practices a wider range of law, from DUI defense to car wrecks to representing government entities. Bain, Moss, and Bowen is the only firm in Mississippi made up of a sitting state legislator, a former assistant district attorney, and a former circuit court judge. Their experience is unmatched in that regard, and you can tap into it by visiting them at 618 East Waldron Street in Corinth or by calling them at 662-287-1620.
Yeah, I mean, Doug may have gotten a higher pitch count. I just meant that's when I thought I saw kind of a drop and him fall off from an effective.
Doug or Gunner?
Doug. Somebody said they thought he got over into the 90s, and he may have thrown 90-something pitches, but he sort of fell off the table a little bit. He was incredibly effective. I mean, I think he was at 69 pitches through 6. And then in the 7th, it was a really long inning. They had some miscues, kind of extended him a little bit. And I think he got up around 90 or so there with a long 7th inning. But yeah, I mean, Doug looked more like the Doug as a freshman. Mike said that he thought it was a consequence of South Carolina swinging early in the count and helping him out and letting him kind of get some easy outs from an early pitch standpoint. But he was more efficient. He wasn't as strikeout dependent. I thought that he changed speeds inside his pitches better. You know, when Doug is kind of doing the striking out 10 thing, he can win that way, but every fastball seems to be 92, 93. He really changed speeds with that fastball on Saturday. I mean, he was throwing the fastball 87 to 92, not letting anybody see the same speed twice in a row. I thought he pitched more effectively than maybe he's thrown in some recent weeks. He looked more vintage Doug there on Saturday. And they just kind of made it work. You know, in the finale, they out-hit Carolina. Wes Clark hits that home run, 8.5 miles. They get behind 3-0 there in the second inning.
That ball was a bomb. I saw I got up because I spent Saturday in Memphis with Carson.
Yeah.
And on Sunday, we had to get back to Memphis. So I got up early and went and did my run because I didn't want to have to go to Memphis and think about having to run all day. I just wanted to get it over with. And so I was watching on the screen the SEC network recap of Saturday.
Yeah.
Holy hell, that ball!
He
that ball went up off the scoreboard.
It hit the very bottom of that pavilion thing up there. Yeah.
Damn.
That was a critical game for Ole Miss because you know how this goes. Getaway day after you've gotten 2, you get down 3-0, and you'll see some teams sort of go, "All right, we won the weekend.
Arkansas,
it's going to be all right." Yeah. It's going to be cool, and that didn't happen. I mean, Ole Miss came right back, and they hit a couple balls out of the ballpark and got back in it. And then once they got ahead of Carolina, I kind of thought Carolina laid down and went out of the hell with it. We kind of shot it there, trying to get back in it and just couldn't quite get it done.
I almost feel bad for that Clark kid because every time he comes up, they look at him like, hey, we need you to hit one here. That's
and he
a
hit
lot
a
of
ton
pressure.
in the non-conference. He's been pretty average in league play. I mean, he saw a little better pitching and hadn't quite. And,
imagine that.
Yeah, it didn't. He was like the national player of the year after a month, and then it was like, can't hit the slider.
Give him credit for that one, though.
They're a big physical bunch.
Yeah.
Good God. Carolina was a huge baseball team. Drew McDaniel gives up that, and he had no stuff. I mean, it was not a good day from a stuff standpoint, and he still managed it. I mean, I think he gave up 4 and 5 innings. I mean, on Sunday, you'll take that. That's not running you out of a game.
But if you're going to give up a 3-runner, that's how you want it to be. You want it to be a no-doubter where you can almost kind of laugh at it.
Go ahead.
Because nothing would piss you off more than kind of feeling like you made a good pitch and somebody just eked one out of the park. You want to give one up off the scoreboard.
He gave it up.
Someone comes out there and goes, man.
That was something.
Let's tell a stewardess joke.
Yeah. What I meant by Ole Miss is 2 home run dependent was Omaha. I'm talking about that it's hard to hit a lot of balls out of that park at that time of year. So I don't love them there, but again, we got plenty of time to worry about that. That's something that's a high class problem that may or may not come to fruition at this point. So I did hate because it was a really, really cool moment that Tim Oko didn't get just 1/16 more of that baseball because he did just miss hitting that son of a bitch out of there, and that'd have been pretty cool. That'd have been a neat
He got something
deal.
to hit.
He did, and he just missed it.
Yeah.
Popped it straight up.
He was swinging for it.
He was, He was probably a little amped up. His swing looks okay.
Yeah.
Can't run. Swings pretty okay. I think it's still a pinch hit deal for a while.
Right now.
The question is, can he move at all enough to be your DH?
Where you could get
are you willing to sacrifice any running ability at all to get him up at the plate 2 more times?
I think so.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
And I thought the swing was good enough that, frankly, he should hit in the 7th or 8th inning of every game moving forward.
Yeah.
He's better than your other options.
He looks like a guy that 2-3 weeks from now maybe could do that. And if he hits a ground ball, you just take the out.
Yeah. Okay.
He's
not beating that anyway.
Well, you're not, and you don't hustle out the fly ball to left.
Stand there and watch it get caught.
Well, I mean, you just
jog down.
Do your moderate jog. You don't try to do something stupid. And then you don't ever do anything dumb. Like if you're on first and you've got to remind him, hey, I know you're a baseball player and this is your hardwired to do this, but don't. You're at first with the single. Guy behind you hits a single to right. You're just getting to second. You're at second and the guy hits a single to center field. You're just getting to third. Mm-hmm. You're just station to station. You're not trying to make a play.
But he gives you enough power, I think, to offset that.
I think
where
so.
It's still worth it.
Where late in the game, he hits a single to center, and it's a 1-run game. Will you pinch hit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
pinch run, I mean, as soon as he gets there.
Ben actually did. He said, "Did you expect Mike to tell you who was pitching midweek? If he knows, he'll tell me. Yeah, that's not a secret. He doesn't. He's not trying to trick Little Rock on who's going to take the mound on Tuesday night.
Little Rock doesn't matter.
He didn't know, legitimately. He said, "I'm sorry." I mean, he literally usually knows. So he apologized for some reason.
Well, he's not going with Diamond. He's not going with
McDaniel, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
The question is, does he stick with McDaniel another week? I think he does. I think he kind of likes Diamond out of the bullpen right now.
Gives him a weapon.
Gives him another bullpen arm when it's a different bullpen arm than McDaniel would give him in the same spot.
Well, and if there's any thought in his mind that Hoagland might have a stamina issue,
Diamond's the one they need.
Yeah,
ready and waiting.
Because I'd rather Hoagland give me 5 great innings and let me go to somebody else.
Well, yeah, 100%.
In the event that you came to that.
Yeah. You give the ball to Diamond and go, hey, I need 3 out of you right here.
Yeah.
Get me through the order one time.
He's kind of pitching well enough to do it.
He's looked confident and good the last 2 times out. I mean, there's been nothing at all there whatsoever. Broadway was fine all 3 times. That was not a problem. I think he only threw 42 pitches or something. He was incredibly efficient over the course of the 3 innings. He was fine. They've still got to get 1 or 2 more guys. But, I mean, Jack Doherty is saving a season right now for Ole Miss. I mean, that came out of nowhere. And
game changer.
Credit to everybody there. Been really easy to just keep redshirting him. I mean, and Doherty, I don't know what his expectation was. He wasn't a top 100 recruiter necessarily, but he wasn't a bad recruit at all. Still working through a redshirt year. We see that in every sport. The guy gets the year off and kind of just not quits, but there's not a ton of intensity to improve in those couple months there.
That's where coaches make their money, is in some of the stuff that you don't see.
Keeping on.
The midweeks, the intra-squads. You're still charting stuff. You're still, as a coach, dialed in when guys are pitching that aren't going to pitch.
Yeah,
a lot of credit goes there because people paid attention to the point that somewhere in a staff meeting, someone probably had it might be worth a look.
Yeah, we got this dude, and he's
Hey,
here's what the gun and the spin rates are now compared to October. Look at this. He's not the same guy he was when we.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. I'm guessing some sort of a conversation with, just thinking out loud.
Not worse than what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, in college baseball, too, because, if a guy's in your program for 5 years, he didn't give you much.
No, I would base a red shirt off what we're talking about, where it's, hey, he can get so many more reps, and let's see if he can kind of find it, and we can always change something.
Sure.
Versus, hey, that 5th year, no.
Frankly, even 4 years, you don't.
Yeah. It happens, but.
Yeah, but.
Now, I think it's about to happen again because of the short draft again. I think there's at least a chance that Ole Miss gets his entire offensive lineup back. There's a shot they don't lose any.
Well, look, it's one of the conversations that has to start being had. I say has. It's a conversation for another day. We're way too deep into this show to go there. Major League Baseball, professional baseball has been hurt by the pandemic badly. Minor League Baseball has been crushed by the pandemic.
Crushed.
And so there's truly a reset of organizations. You don't need as many players anymore because you don't have as many affiliates.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have as many farm teams. So there's more need for college players to play college, yet they still have the 11.7. The thing about the 11.7, just to set it up for another day, because I know there's a lot of talk about the show that Matt Wyatt's working on and stuff about Vanderbilt. The 11.7 is an issue at the top where schools could afford more scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a concern if you were to add, call it 20, take it to 20 scholarships. There's a lot of programs in this part of the country and all over the country that would go, nope, we're done.
We can't afford that.
We can't do that. So wait, you're going to make, so with Title IX, unless you do an exemption, and give me a break, unless you do an exemption, if let's say you go to 25, because that's one of the things that I've heard people go, let's go to 25 scholarships in college baseball. Well, Ole Miss would probably go, okay, we'll do that, and we'll add a women's lacrosse team, and it'll be tough, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, sure.
Louisiana Tech, Louisiana Monroe, Southeast Louisiana, McNeese.
Well, but even beyond that,
Delta State.
Teams that are really good at baseball that go, hey, we need to stay in this upper echelon. East Carolina.
Sure.
Where do we find the money for that?
Yeah.
What do we do?
But those other schools that we talked about, they all go, we're out.
But I guess my point is you could even go, hey, I get this isn't ideal, but do you guys want to have a different league? We have the 11.7 league and we have the 25 league. Okay.
Well, I'd be for that.
Yeah, that's cool. But if you're a program like Rice or East Carolina or somebody, well, what do you do?
Well, they'd have a decision to make.
I mean,
do we go dominate the lower league
or do we pay?
Or do we stop being dominant?
Yeah, because you can't. I mean, look, that takes what Ole Miss faces and puts it on steroids. I mean, East Carolina couldn't compete with 25 scholarships at 11.7. Can't get any kids. I mean, like, that would be really, really difficult.
Well, I mean, Grind makes a great point. South Alabama's always been a pretty competitive program.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you went to 25, they're out. They go, well, we'll play in the lower level.
Watech.
Yeah. And I can tell you, as someone who's intimately familiar really with both of those programs, both of their fan bases would be like, yeah, but if we're going to play at the lower level, I really don't know that we want to do it. And some schools would go, well, you know what? Screw it, man. Let's just shut this down.
It gives you but I mean, here's the alternative to that. It gives you a title chance that you don't currently have.
It does. It does, but it's
actually competitive for once.
I know.
Because right now, Arkansas State or somebody,
all those schools in football could go 1AA or whatever we call it now,
sure.
FBS or whatever.
Yeah.
And they, I mean, I remember when, no joke, when what is now Louisiana Monroe won the Division 1AA national championship. I was a senior in high school, I think. It was a big deal.
Those kids had a good time, I promise.
It was a big deal. It was a big story in North Louisiana. But they, as soon as they could, went 1A.
Yeah.
For the money.
Of course.
And so I don't know how that impacts baseball and stuff. I don't know. I mean, but you know, it's if you go from 11.7 to 25, you're adding a women's sport, which means that you're adding a women's coaching staff and you're adding a lot of stuff. It's not just as simple
potentially facilities, depending on what your sport is.
Well, I mean, you know, a place like Ole Miss, what would be the natural sport to add if you were to add a women's sport today?
Gymnastics, I guess.
I guess.
It's that or swimming and diving.
Or lacrosse.
But nobody else plays it either in the league.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Around the league, there would be a lot of talk about should we add lacrosse.
Yeah, sure. But for Ole Miss to play SEC sports that are currently there, swimming, diving, equestrian, gymnastics.
Yeah, someone says, couldn't they just cut other men's sports? I guess you could. You could cut men's sports.
But who's doing that?
But now you're punishing people. I mean, make no mistake, when you do that, you're punishing people.
Yeah, that was never even on the table during the pandemic. That's not on the table now.
So, you know, I mean, yeah, you could go cut.
Hey, to help our baseball team, sorry, there's no men's golf team.
We're going to cut men's tennis.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now you're taking opportunities away from a lot of people. I mean, why, you know, it's there's no.
And speaking of that sentence, that's why they will never level the scholarship playing field from a lottery scholarship standpoint.
Right.
The NCAA has no interest whatsoever in cutting academic scholarships as help for baseball.
Right.
Because they say that all that's doing is punishing kids.
Yeah.
Which it's fair. They're just they're kind of forest for trees a little bit here.
It is. Yeah. That's why I'm interested to see what he produces, because if his entire and again, I've not talked to Matt. I have no clue. But if the entire thing is it's not fair in the SEC, okay, well you're covering such a small little sample of what this is.
It's a bigger problem.
It's a much bigger issue than that.
Yeah.
It's easy to get, especially this time of year and the emotions of it all, to get locked into, well, what does it mean for Mississippi State? Or okay, yeah, but that is such a small part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a much more complex issue.
Yeah. Podcast brought to you in part by G&M Pharmacy and Tyson Drugs. Tyson Drugs there in Holly Springs on the Square. G&M on South Lamar in Oxford, 662-236-2222. That deliver locally in the Oxford area, and they offer MedSync for your prescription the same day each month to take care of you with one trip to the pharmacy or one delivery. If that's something you need or more that they offer you there inside your local community pharmacy, you can call them again, 662-236-2222.
Also brought to you by Alpha Specialties, located at 1670 Highway 80 in Pearl, Mississippi. It's your trailer-specific professional. If you want to haul it, they can call it. Alpha's the premium trailer dealership in Mississippi. They've got Load Trail. It's the premium brand trailer, the highest quality utility, equipment, dump, and gooseneck trailer being built today. Fully primed and powder-coated Load Trail trailers come with an industry-leading 3-year warranty and 2 years of roadside assistance. They also have Hallmark cargo trailers. They also can work with third parties to have game day trailers and concession trailers built just for you. They also do all types of truck accessories, and listeners can get 10% off a yearly trailer service and inspection at Alpha Specialties Full Service Shop. 601-932-9798 or alphaofms.com. Blue Delta Jeans makes the best fitting, most comfortable jeans in the world because they are uniquely made for you and only you. Raw denim jeans, custom fit and hand-tailored in Tupelo, Mississippi. One size fits one at BlueDeltaJeans.com. Husbands, fathers, children, Mother's Day is Sunday, so don't wait until the very last minute to get a gift for the mother in your life. A custom pair of Blue Delta jeans is a great way to show you care and give a gift that will bring a lifetime of joy. BlueDeltaJeans.com to purchase a gift card that can be redeemed in person or online, or contact the folks at Blue Delta to schedule an in-person fitting for the mom in your life. Don't forget to use the code Rebel Grove online or in person for 10% off any pair of jeans. And we're brought to you by The Rogue. The Rogue is your destination for fine men's clothing. Their stylists hand-select pieces from top designers, from work to lifestyle to nightlife. There's the perfect something for everyone at The Rogue. All the best items from Peter Millar, Martin Dingman, Jack Victor, Halsey, True Grit, Duckhead, and more at The Rogue. They've been in business more than 53 years. Their classic style, attention to detail, and commitment to excellence continues to make The Rogue a special place to shop. 4450 I-55 North in Jackson, or therogue.com. And we're brought to you by Joey Erickson at Heron Gear Chevrolet. Let him help you find the vehicle you're looking for at a price you can afford. Choose from a full selection of new Chevrolet vehicles, or get a great deal on numerous brands of reliable pre-owned vehicles. Give Joey a call or a text at 662-571-2367. Tell him what you're looking for, or stop at 1685 High Street in Jackson to test drive that new or used vehicle you've been wanting. Let him earn your business. And please make sure you tell him you heard about Joey on the Oxford Exxon Podcast or the Soft Verbal Podcast. And with any purchased vehicle, you get $50 gas card.
Just quickly, because I know a couple people asked back earlier when we were having a baseball discussion. Standings, both sides, kind of a three-team race on both the East and the West. Vanderbilt and Tennessee tied atop the SEC East at 14-7. Florida 13-8, one game back. Then Carolina 11-10 after that tough weekend. Kentucky 10-11. Georgia 10-11. Missouri 5-16. And then on the West, Arkansas with a one-game lead on Mississippi State, 15-6 to 14-7. Ole Miss 13-8, two back of the Razorbacks. Alabama 11-10. LSU 7-14. A&M and Auburn both 5-16 there in the league. So, the SEC with the number one conference RPI in the country. No, it's not really a shock, but nonetheless. We'll get some different. Let's see what we got. Seeing ESPN.com, Mike Trout is having his best start ever. That's interesting.
Yeah, he's tearing the cover off the ball.
Really?
Yeah.
He's probably gonna make the Hall of Fame one day. He's having a good career. I think he's gonna be all right.
Think he's gonna be all right?
Yeah, I think got a shot.
I watched some of Cubs Reds yesterday because I was in Memphis, and then driving back, I was listening to it. So it was a fast 13-12 in 10 innings. What you hated about that game is the first time that I watched the game that went back and forth, and then the 10th inning rolls around, and you look up and there's a runner on second, nobody out, and you're like, oh, I hate that.
Do you hate it?
Yeah. And to my credit, Carson was in here, and I said I hate that when the Cubs were doing it. Because I looked up, I'm like, did I miss something? How's he on second base? Because I was working on 10 thoughts.
You forgot that.
And I'm like, what? Yeah. The Cubs didn't score, and the Reds did, and they won, but I didn't like it before that.
I think I would really, really hate it. I'm not at the point of caring enough, but I think it would drive me insane. And it's going to be trickled down everywhere. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, the SEC is already doing it at some points.
Any NFL draft stuff shock you? Elijah goes 34 overall, which is as low as I thought he would go. I thought there was a chance he would go a little higher. Second pick in the second round.
The Saints could have even screwed up with him a little bit, and the two guys right before, because when defense started getting popped, people freaked out for a few picks there and went, hey, we better get our defensive guy now. It's like, I mean, it was kind of like the real-life version of a fantasy football draft. Whenever somebody finally starts taking quarterbacks, everybody's like, oh, crap, now I got to go take my quarterback and make sure I get somebody. Not really. I mean, the thing with 3 didn't shock me. I think I would have been a little more surprised had Jones been the pick right there. It's a weird draft for the Saints. It felt a little like a retool for New Orleans a little bit, which is valid, but they're a bad draft team the last few years. The stat that I saw that was interesting, and I saw maybe Ralph Russo with the AP comment on this, is the lack of linebackers drafted and how linebacker might be the new fullback, where everything is going so multiple and athletic that is a dying position in football.
So you have interior guys, edge guys, and then you have nickels and dimes,
just a bunch of
safeties,
star or whatever you want to call them,
stars and bandits and all that stuff.
Yeah,
rovers and whatever. Yeah,
the defenses have gotten so athletic, given the offense rules, frankly, that give them an advantage, that the linebacker might be the dying position.
True middle linebacker.
Yeah, there's no like Mike Singletary type anymore.
Because nobody really lines up and runs the eye between the tackles.
Where it's like, okay, your fullback's keyed on your linebacker, and we've got this Oklahoma collision every play, and we're doing this thing. What quarterback you putting all your marbles on?
Besides Trevor?
Sure. It's Fields, isn't it?
It's Fields.
Yeah.
Although I like Zach Wilson.
I won't be shocked if he has a really good career.
I mean, his arm is special.
It's electric. I mean, it's.
I'm sure Elijah has watched some highlights of Zach Wilson and gone, okay.
I can make that work.
Yeah.
Throw it to me. What's the baseline or the over-under on Lawrence's career, in your opinion?
Oh, he's 10 to 12-year NFL starters, probably your baseline. All-pro.
Phillip Rivers type?
Yeah, that's probably his. Barring a catastrophic injury, that's probably his floor.
Really? So you think his floor is a Hall of Fame candidate?
Yeah.
Not disagreeing.
His ceiling is one of the.
It's just hell of an expectation.
His ceiling's one of the best 5 to 10 quarterbacks to ever play the game.
So you'll be really surprised if his career, I mean, I'm just throwing out names, turns out to be like a Matt Stafford or something.
Sure.
Yeah. Not a bad player, but just.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's probably his ab. I mean, that's just the basement for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Matt Stafford's still in the league, making a ton of money and setting
Play
records.
With a contender this year.
And could be on a Super Bowl team.
He could. Yeah, you like him more than most.
I love Stafford.
Yeah, you're fine there.
I mean, he's not the crust of elite, but who is?
Well, the Saints drafted Ian Book, so we're in great shape. I'm ready to go get it.
I actually kind of like Book as a backup guy.
But if you're just taking him to be a backup guy, why are you even taking him? We need a lot of stuff. Go get somebody else. Do some other position. Do anything.
Maybe they think he's potentially a guy.
Maybe. I'm just eat the words. I don't know. But it still feels like it's Jameis next year.
He checks a lot of boxes for a future quarterback.
Yeah. I think we're about to ride the roller coaster for a year.
Jameis is a roller coaster potentially.
Jameis and see what happens. Hey, let's throw that thing around. See where it goes. 42 touchdowns, 28 picks. Be awesome. I don't know.
I mean, the bargain guy is potentially Fields.
It is.
At 11? That you got a guy who could have easily gone second?
Oh, it's great at 11 now. I mean,
could have easily gone second?
Yeah, you're golden at 11.
I mean, it's potentially the opposite of – it's like they did the opposite of the Trubisky thing.
Mm-hmm. When they went too high.
Yeah. And then the guy that, from a value standpoint, listen, Mac Jones could end up being a big-time value at 15.
He could.
At 3, it was going to be a big reach. At 15, in the right team, and I think New England might very well be the right team, it's potentially a real bargain there.
Did you listen to the phone conversation with the Bama long snapper this morning?
No.
You didn't hear this?
No.
Well, I guess we can't really play it on the show. But so Carolina takes him, and he thinks that when Matt Rule calls him, it's about being an undrafted free agent. So I forget what Rule exactly says, but he's like, hey, you ready to come to Carolina? And he's like, I'm looking at my options or whatever. And the guy's like, no, I drafted you. Are you ready to go to Carolina? And basically was like, are you kidding? Like whatever. He like gets so pumped and whatever. And they put the owner on the phone. He's like, I'll walk my ass to Carolina right now. Like he's all whatever.
That's great.
But when they started the call, he's like, I don't know. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah.
I'm going to listen to 15.
Yeah. And Rule's like, no, we drafted you. And I mean, he just perked up, and it was like, oh.
So they took a long snapper. I mean, it's an important part of the game.
Well, say, look, as much as you want to make fun of it, at the end of the day, if you solidify a position, any position for what you believe to be 10 to 15 years,
sure,
it's worth it.
Sure.
Because I'm assuming it was in the 7th round, a few picks to go. Sure, I can take that linebacker and we'll see what happens. Half the time you're cutting that dude before he even gets to camp.
Sure.
Okay. So, It's fine.
Well, no, if you go into every season for the next decade knowing this guy's going to get the ball to the punter and this guy's going to get the ball to the holder.
He was 100 for 100 without a botch, and they say that it's real. I know nothing about long snapping.
The timing's really good.
It's like 0.6 seconds to the punter. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure.
So I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, that's done.
There's value there.
And when I line up, I have faith that we're not going to botch this snap on a field goal to win a football game.
There's value there.
Okay. I have no problem with that kind of crap in the 7th round.
No.
Take care of it.
I like Rule. I got to tell you.
I kind of do too.
I mean,
yeah, I know.
He checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, if I'm a Panther fan, I'm feeling pretty good about kind of where things are.
At least the direction of things. Yeah. Did you see where they're going turf?
Oh, really?
They're taking the grass out because of soccer. Because there's so many things happening on that field, they think they can't keep the grass healthy enough to.
Does Charlotte have an MLS team?
They're getting one or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So they said that also with football where they stand with the sidelines, it's been tearing it to pieces. That's actually on the MLS field. So if they don't go to turf, they're having a really hard time maintaining the it's annoyed a lot of soccer people because they said it's just so different on turf than on grass.
Soccer is?
Yeah, soccer is frustrated by the change. I know nothing.
I don't know. Carson just got through playing on the Mike Rose fields, and for all the money that they get out there, like every car's $10, and there's gazillions of cars from all over the place. You're like, you guys can't afford to get rid of the weeds?
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah. Meanwhile, at Oxford, the fields are just immaculate.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, we'll talk a little more NFL tomorrow, probably.
Carson played. He played his last club tournament. You know, he's playing up.
Yeah.
He's playing kids 22 months older than him. I mean, the collisions.
Oh, really?
Oh my God! Two of the three teams they played were so physical. And it was like, man, I'm sitting over in a lawn chair going, you're going to have to match that or else it's going to get bad. And to his credit, he tried to match. He took a couple of spills. He came up one time and it was mud on his face, but I thought it was blood on his face. And I'm looking at him going, and he kind of looks a little dazed, and I'm like, well, shit, you know? But then he's kind of okay, and I saw him go over, and he started putting water on his face. So, well, maybe it was just mud.
Okay.
But it was looked like a receiver going across the middle getting hit. Yeah. I mean, it was that kind of stuff.
So anyway, we'll talk to you as the week moves on. Again, there is a televised game this weekend, so I might have a live show for you guys, whatever that is. I forget what day, but
it's Thursday,
games,
right?
Is it?
I don't know.
One of the days is nationally televised, so we'll be with you for that and as the week moves on. So appreciate all the discussion, wedding, baseball, and otherwise in the live stream. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Have a good day.